this lesson, I'd like to teach you how to comp the minor 2-5-1 progression. We're going to start with basic 3 and 4 note chords and then move into more complex items as the lesson progresses. If you would like to get a downloadable PDF with the tab for this lesson, please check out the link below. The very first example deals with 3 note voicings and it sounds like this. Just before we begin the video, I'd like to tell you about a free beginner jazz guitar course which I have available for anyone that is new to learning jazz guitar. I've put this jazz guitar course together to break down jazz guitar in a coherent and structured way. There are over 25 4K video lessons and a 40-page downloadable PDF to help you get started. Each module comes with downloadable PDFs, chord diagrams, etudes and studies to help you get started learning the wonderful art of jazz. If you see a minor 2-5 within the context of a jazz standard, you'll often see that the 2 minor 7th chord is typically a minor 7 flat 5. So the chords are typically something like E minor 7 flat 5, A7, and then some kind of D minor. Now the minor 7 flat 5 really just has an optional extension there of the flat 5. You can play that as a 3 note chord amongst many other things and not cause any problems whatsoever. So you could go E minor 7, 3 note chord, A7 as a 3 note chord, and then D minor 7 as a 3 note chord, or a D minor 6. So that's one thing. The minor 7 does not have to be a minor 7 flat 5. You can just have it as a regular 3 note chord. And it still serves its function. Now the 1 chord also is kind of similar in that respect, only you'll see a lot of 1 chords in a minor 2-5 written as a minor 7th, which is okay. That certainly works, and you could get away with playing a minor 7 flat, a minor 7th at a jam. But it doesn't have to be that. It can be really any kind of minor chord, even a minor triad, which I think is often neglected by jazz guitar players. You can have a minor triad there and it sounds resolved, whereas a minor 7th, typically when you hear that 7th, it almost always sounds like it wants to go somewhere else to me. So I'm not saying that I never use that, but the minor chords sound a little bit more resolved to my ears. So you could use a 3 note minor 7th chord or a 3 note minor 6. That being natural there has a much greater sense of stability to it than a minor 7th chord. So E minor 7, A7 is a 3 note chord, and then D minor 6 is a 3 note chord. That's the first example. So one more time, E minor 7, A7, and then D minor 7, and then D minor 6. So yeah, you can always do that as well. The minor 7, you can always go from minor 7 to minor 6, and that could work vice versa as well. So if you're playing like an intro 1-6-2-5 vamp, you could obviously just play D minor 7 and go which would be fine, but you can also go The second option gives you some common 4 note voicings for a minor 2-5-1. We've got a 4 note E minor 7 flat 5 now, a 4 note A7 flat 13, and on this particular example we've got this line that goes D minor. Following the D minor we've got a D minor 7, so can you see there I'm just moving the pinky D minor triad to go to a D minor 7th chord, and then the third chord is actually a D minor 6-9, which is just kind of the same chord what I showed you a minute ago, but I've got the 9th on there as well. So all the minor chords go like this: minor, minor 7, and then we've got a minor 6-9 like that. Now you don't have to play all 3 of those chords. You can do, you could go D minor, D minor 7, and then D minor 6-9, but it's a bit of a handful. So really what I'd suggest is just picking one of those. So like that. So that was all three of them, you know, a minor 7, and then a minor 6/9. So that's the second example, is 4-note voicings for our minor 2-5-1 progression. For the next example, we're going to take this chord that we just used, the E minor 7 flat 5 chord. For this specific voicing, we have the notes E, B flat, D, and G against an E minor 7 flat 5 chord. That's going to be root, flat 5, 7, and 3. We can get those notes and put them on the top 4 strings. Currently we're on strings 2, 3, 4, and 5. Once again, we've got root, flat 5, 7, 3, and we can put those intervals on the top 4 strings. Root, flat 5, 7, and then 3. And that gives us an E minor 7th chord. It's also a G minor 6 too, which is an entire different subject. But once we've got this voice, it's actually movable by 3 frets. So if we take this E minor 7 flat 5 chord and then we move it up, and we put an A bass third on it, we've gone up here 1, 2, 3 frets. We've got a beautiful A7 altered chord. There's our shell. We've got that flat 13 that we looked at a minute ago, and we've also got a flat 9 on the top string there. So E minor 7 flat 5, A7 altered, or an A7 flat 13 with a flat 9. And if we continue this thing of moving it up 3 frets, we can move it all the way up here. And this gives us a very nice kind of D minor 6/9 chord there. So E minor 7 flat 5. And we get a symmetrical little voicing that goes on there. Kind of thing. So what works for one string set will definitely work for another. So if we go back to this chord right here, we have the root, the flat 5, the 7th, and the 3rd. We can put all those intervals here as well. So we've got root, flat 5, 7, 3, and then if we move that up 3 frets, we've now got against the A7, we've got 7, 3, flat 13, and then a flat 9. Same chord. And then obviously you can see where I'm probably going with this. We move this up 3 frets, kind of running out of room here on this guitar, but many of you will recognise that as a B minor 7 flat 5 chord, but it's also a D minor 6/9, that kind of sound. So those chords, and if you don't want to go that high up, you can just resolve it there too. But the idea is to show you what the shape can do. You could of course mix any of those string sets up. You could start with this minor 7 flat 5, go to this A7 altered, and then go to that chord, the D minor 6/9 right there as well. So, and it will dictate maybe a slightly different melody. The next example shows you a very common Joe Pass lick that you can do using this kind of up 3 frets minor 2-5 trick. You can start with a minor 7 flat 5 chord and it sounds like this. So all I'm doing there is basically just playing that chord, and then I'm adding the pinky to get replacing the 3rd with the 4th, and then dropping that off, and then further up, doing the same thing, and then also the same thing with the D minor 6/9 chord. You can add roots to generate a fuller sound to this. And I'm just kind of, you can either think of that as being like an E minor 7 flat 5 with the 3rd in the bass, or is it just simply a G minor 6? So instead of going 2-5-1, you're going to go 4-5-1. This chord I like to put the B flat in the bass, so it's almost more like a B flat diminished chord, I guess. And then this is still a D minor 6/9 chord. Another way that you can embellish a minor 2-5-1 is rather than play an E minor 7 flat 5 chord, you can play a B flat major 7 sharp 11 or B major 7 flat 5. And get that kind of sound. So B flat major 7, which is just a flat 6, 5 altered and then a 1. And one nice way that you can voice this is if you have the sharp 11 right here, then you're going to have an extension here that goes up where the bass note comes down, almost like contrary motion. And then you can resolve to a 1 chord, any kind of the 1 chord, like what we've looked at in a previous example. This last example uses that idea, but within this chord, this B flat major 7, there's an inverted 4th voicing, which is kind of like more of a modal chord, especially without the root. And the good thing about modal chords is that they can also move in kind of stepwise and semitone motions and create some beautiful chords. This one's a little bit more kind of, mid-60s McCoy Tyner, but you might be able to get away with using it in a minor blues if you're careful. Or a minor turnaround, any kind of minor turnaround. So this is a B flat major 7 sharp 11, and then I'm moving this voicing up. So it's kind of like some kind of altered A7 with the 3rd in the bass. There's the 3rd. We've also got the sharp 9 there as well. We've got the flat 13 again, and we've got the 7th. So you've got the guide tones of the chord, but it's a beautiful way of playing an A7 chord, and we can move that chord shape up as well. And this is a D minor with the 3rd in the bass, where we've got the 9th, we've got the 5th, and we've got the B natural there, the 6th as well. So essentially, if you remove the roots from each of those chords, and then we go all the way up there, but you put these roots on, and it gives it a little bit more of a context rather than just having them as movable shapes. Another thing that you can do that also disregards the minor 7 flat 5 chord, or maybe looks at it in a different way, is to play this chord. Now this is still some kind of an E minor 7 flat 5 chord with an E bass note. We've got our flat 5 there, and we've got a 7th, we've got a root, and we've got an 11th, so it's like an E minor 7 flat 5 chord with an 11th. So you could use that as a standalone voicing. It's a very kind of nice sound, kind of like that. You might hear in Stella by Starlight, especially if you could play it there as well. Sounds especially nice on an acoustic guitar. But you can also play that with an A bass note, and it's going to give you a suspended flat 9 sound, and you can drop down the 4th, the suspended note, to the 3rd, and then resolve it to a D minor. So suspended, that's just kind of a major of a flat 13 and then a D minor, and it almost kind of has a diminished quality to it because it's got that flat 9 in there. I hope that you found this lesson useful. If you did, please give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.